welcome to the OnlySP forum, where we have discussions on different relevant news topics throughout the week and try to foster some positive discussion around gaming in general. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the new Borderlands, expectations, hopes, what we like and don't like about the series. So I'm going to be playing, well, not playing devil's advocate because I don't actually like it, but I'm the guy who doesn't like Borderlands, and Sean is the one who does. So I guess I'll go ahead and let you talk first about why you do like it.
All right. Well, I actually played Borderlands 2 first. So when Gearbox had, what's his face? Forgot his name. Who wrote it? Birch. His last name's Birch. But he wrote the game, and I've never really had a game that lengthy and that in depth with that much humor. So for me, it kept my interest. It was a first-person shooter that I could actually do and do well. And it had the ability to, join other people and then still go through the story. I think was it you that I was arguing with that said it didn't even have a story?
No.
No. I was
not
talking to somebody who said that it didn't even have a story. And so I was like, no. We had this interesting discussion about it. But then I went back and played one. I could see where during one it's kind of lacking in story. But that's just because it's setting up for two. Two is where the real story begins.
Well, you can tell they were kind of working with the development of Borderlands actually was really strung out. I remember when they first announced it. When they first announced it, I remember reading about it in a Game Informer at a football game. So I was still playing football, and I haven't played football since freshman year of high school. And I think it was even earlier than that. So when they originally announced that they were working on it, it was a long time ago. And it was originally really realistic and trying to be like Mad Max, really gritty. And then they completely changed it a year or maybe even two down the line. So I can tell that the development was really kind of strung out and on a lower budget because a lot of the stories delivered through voiceover, and the cutscenes are very, very brief. But I kind of like that, and part of the reason is I'm more of a gameplay person than a story person, so I don't really want a bunch of cutscenes in the way between me and shooting things in the face and watching numbers go up.
Right.
But the thing for me is it tries to do shooting and RPG gameplay, and I think it waters down both to accommodate the combination. So when I play a first-person shooter, I either want really fast-paced action like Call of Duty or really highly skill-based gameplay like Counter-Strike. And it doesn't have either of those because it kind of has a slower pace because of the RPG elements.
Right.
And then on top of that, the RPG elements aren't as deep because it's wanting to accommodate the shooter crowd. So for someone who doesn't normally play shooters, I can see why they would enjoy it because it kind of bridges the gap. But I do play a lot of shooters, so for me it just got really boring really quickly.
I think that makes a lot of sense because again, I wasn't a first-person shooter at all. And now I enjoy it. That was the bridge for me to get more into it.
Right.
So yeah, I fully agree with you on where that could be muddy. I do have quite a few friends though that have been first-person shooter players for a long time and really enjoy this game, but I think they enjoy the story aspect. You definitely have to be someone that wants to pay attention to the story and kind of get, put pieces together and stuff like that in order to like Borderlands.
Yeah, and I think another thing that maybe led to me not enjoying it was kind of the mindset I was in. Because I wasn't going into it thinking this is basically Diablo with guns. I was going into it thinking this is a shooter with some light RPG stuff. So when the shooter gameplay was kind of lacking, I was like, oh, this is boring because I wasn't expecting it to be, Diablo. I enjoy Diablo, but it's just clicking on things and watching numbers go up essentially.
Right.
But it's very, very satisfying and very polished. So I wasn't really expecting that experience. I feel like if I knew that it was shooting for more Diablo and less Halo, then I might have enjoyed it more. But I mean, now that I'm in that mindset, I can't really correct it. Even when I go back, when I go back and play it in that mindset, I still just see the same things I saw.
Well, see, I went in it expecting the exact same thing and really dreading playing it. And my friend was
Yeah.
like, "No, you don't understand. There's this cool twist at the end, and the story is amazing, and the replay value is great." And I'm like, "But I'm really bad at first-person shooters, and I'm not the type of person that really enjoys like going and doing basically the same thing over and over again. Like I can't get into like Call of Duty or anything like that just because I don't grasp it. I don't understand it that well yet, and so it's not as enjoyable for me." And and then I started playing it. I'm like, this is not at all what I thought it
Right.
was, and dreading it. Which, I mean, obviously from two very different outlooks, it did
Mhm.
very well on one end and did very poorly for another end.
Right. And I mean, that's part of, kind of, I guess it's a specialized game. You have to be the right kind of person. And
Hmm.
I'm all for that. I think we need more games that target sort of a niche audience instead of going for everybody. So that's
Hmm.
cool. The other thing, it's not really my type of humor. It's kind of like in your face and not particularly clever, which there's nothing wrong with that really. It's just I like slow burning humor and like kind of dark humor.
Hmm.
Which there were some things that I thought were really funny just because they were kind of messed up. Like there was this quest in Borderlands 2. The guy who gives you the quest, his name is Face McShooty. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've heard about this, but basically the quest is to shoot him in the face. He gives you this quest, and then he just sits there and screams at you about how he wants you to shoot him in the face, and then you blow his head off and he says thank you and the quest is over.
Hmm.
I thought that was really funny, but it was less well, and part of that was it played to the gameplay too. The humor wasn't just and this is a problem I have with a lot of American comedy films these days. It's all audio. Like very few American comedy films use film to their strength. They just it's a joke you could tell to your friend and not lose anything for it. And that kind of turns me off. And I think it draws a lot of inspiration from those like modern American comedy movies, and it's just not
Hmm.
really for me.
That's a very good point. I disagree just for the simple fact that I find anything amusing as long as it's not stupid.
Yeah.
Like I hate stupid humor. But with I think Borderlands, like for me, is the type of game that I would play if I wanted the humor that it has. Like if I wanted to just be a stress-free, if I'm angry and I just want to hear some stupid crap that, is crude. Like Tiny Tina is by far probably my favorite character in the whole world because she is just the epitome of how I would act in a world like that. Like I would be the one to set shit on fire. I would be the one blowing up things. I would I would be that crazy and I'd have a tea party while doing it. The whole scenario is totally me animated. Like I had two friends come to me going, "You have to play Borderlands 2, if only for the fact that you have to meet Tiny Tina because they remind me of you." Like it's that kind of
I don't
interaction.
know whether that's a compliment or not.
So I totally took it as a compliment.
I can't quite tell. But
Um,
yeah.
But see, Borderlands 1 is lacking that kind of crude humor because it had different writers. So the one like downside I kind of feel from the whole Borderlands game system is the inconsistency with writing. Now, Birch did too, and he did some of the pre-sequel. He actually wrote it with someone else, and you can definitely tell who wrote what in the game. That's a downside.
Yeah, and I think another part of it is back to like the budget on the first one and kind of the strung out development. There's a much smaller cast of characters in the first one.
Hmm.
So and they all kind of have the same shtick. So like if it's not a shtick you're into, well, you're shit out of luck. But
Hmm.
in Borderlands 2, there's multiple characters and they all kind of bring something different to the table. So like I find Handsome Jack to be horribly annoying.
Hmm.
But there's other characters that I was okay with. So it kind of but the first
Now, do you mean the
game.
pre-sequel?
No, I haven't played the pre-sequel. I've only played one
Okay.
and two. But the first game, the humor didn't gel with me, and there weren't any characters to kind of set it off because they all had the same sort of shtick.
Right. I agree. Um, I think with Borderlands 1, now see, here's the funny thing. I have not finished Borderlands 1. I have finished Borderlands 2,
I haven't done
and
that
I'm
either. I
I'm
got close though.
almost done with pre-sequel. That alone says a whole bunch about Borderlands 1 and what happened with Borderlands 1 and why it did just well enough for them to really get where they wanted to go
Yeah.
to
And
begin with.
the other thing is the color palette too. Like you can tell that they started off making the first Borderlands kind of wanted to do like the gritty Mad Max thing because there's a lot of like browns and grays in the color palette, but it's got this cartoonish art style and that just looked weird to me. Whereas with the second one, they added a lot more color. I actually really like the way the second game looks because there's a lot more color to it, and I think it just works with the overall art style better. But enough about the first two games. So Borderlands 3, did they officially announce it or did they just?
I think they hinted at it.
Yeah, I think they hinted at it, and there's the remaster, and it's pretty obvious that they're going to be making a Borderlands 3
Yeah,
for
they're
next-gen
building up.
consoles. Yeah.
They're definitely building up for a third one.
So what as a fan, what would you like to see out of the third Borderlands?
I want to see Tiny T to be a playable character, first of all. I think I don't know. It kind of concerns me because, again, the writing has always been inconsistent. If they keep Birch, I'm all in. I love his writing. I love the way he does things. I love the twists. I mean, the story actually has a very good base if you get down to it. If you can get, if you got through one, and then if you actually paid attention in two, all of it's so good. It's amazing. Now, when Birch teamed up with the other guy, I forgot his name as well. I'm sorry. They still did really well. They kept the story, and it gives you obviously the insight about how Handsome Jack became, the horrible person we know, which was interesting. And it's shorter, which I'm glad. I think that's what needed to happen. It needed to be a shorter game. But then there's like subtle hints between 2 and the pre-sequel where they could go anywhere, and they haven't told anything. They haven't said anything about a third one. This all could be fake. They may not have a third one ready. But as long as they have Birch and they tie up loose ends, if this third one ties up loose ends, I'm all for it. That's all I want.
Right. I would be very surprised if they were not making Borderlands 3 because currently their release track record consists of Borderlands and then terrible first-person shooters that have absolutely tanked. Like Aliens, Colonial Marines, and Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh, yeah.
So Borderlands is the only thing that's bringing any money into Gearbox currently. So, and Homeworld Remastered, which is actually pretty excellent. I got to play it recently.
I was about to say they just released Homeworld Remastered, and let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't gotten around to. I actually booted up on my PC. I booted up DOSBox and ran Homeworld just to see how they compare. And like the first cutscene, it's noticeable that they didn't just upscale it. Like they put work into it. They redrew some of the images, and they really touched up the audio quality really well. Like they actually put legitimate work into making this a more pleasant experience for a modern user, which is awesome because Homeworld's a great game. And I find like classic PC gaming is something that's kind of ignored by mainstream gamers. Like even amongst retro gamers, they're always retro gamers that play like NES games and SNES games. I find retro PC gaming to be very not touched upon by a lot of mainstream gaming culture. So to have something like Homeworld being brought back to a new audience, I think that's really cool.
I agree. I said in my review for it, I did not know about Homeworld when it first came out. I wasn't a PC gamer back then. The only thing I played was Duke Nukem and like some racing game I can't remember. And so when I played it, I could play the remastered. It allows you, it gives you the first 2 originals as well, so you can compare. And I'm like, this game was way before its time. Like there was nothing out like this before.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Or since, like
Yeah.
the whole time they've released like these MMOs and these, things like that have so much potential for, your 3D elements and being able to fly around. And I'm like, it's not giving me what I want. I cannot do like any space games, FTL, anything like that. because it's just not what I want. And then I played this game. I was like, this game came out like what, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
And this is exactly what I've been looking for.
Well, they're starting to there's actually a genre of game. It's called 4X strategy games. There's 4X is like expand, exterminate. I don't remember the other, but basically it's its own genre. And there are a lot of really good old PC games in this genre, and then it just died. And recently we've been seeing a revival of it with Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous and Homeworld Remastered. And I really want it to be good, but the first game coming out of the gate for this whole like big revival of the 4X genre was X Rebirth. And X Rebirth was terrible, like really, really bad. So I'm hoping... I've heard Elite Dangerous is really excellent, though. So it's pretty much all on Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous at this point, because I really want to see this genre come back. So,
yeah, I don't know anything about those games at all, so we'll have to lean to you for that one.
Yeah, but so for me with Borderlands 3, I'm probably not going to... The only thing they could do to really draw me in is completely revise the core gameplay. And either make it like complete RPG or complete shooter, which they're not going to do.
They're not going to do.
So
No.
it's probably just not going to be a game for me. But hopefully it for those people who do enjoy it, it brings more of the same to them. Because I'm jealous. I wish I could like Borderlands. It's a long game. I have both of them. I wish I could play it, but I just can't do it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it out. Wrap it up for now. So yeah, keep an eye on OnlySP for any new Borderlands 3 related news, and tell us what you like, don't like about the existing Borderlands series, and what you hope to see in Borderlands 3 in the comments below. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.